It's officially preview season here on the Commanders Report, and this week it is our first preview of the year as the New York Giants travel to Landover, Maryland this weekend here to take on the Washington Commanders in the season opener. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and this week we are doing a sub-battle with our friends, our frenemies, I should say, in the Giants Now crew. Giants Now is our Giants channel here at Chat Sports, and Marshall Green, their host, has challenged us to a new subscriber battle. So whichever channel can add the most new subscribers this week before the start of the game is going to win this battle, guys. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And new viewers, we are counting on you guys. All the real ones that are already subscribed to the channel can't help us out here. It's only new subscribers. So if you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, it takes a half second of your time. Help us beat the New York Giants off the field before the Commanders beat them on the field this weekend by clicking that subscribe button for in-depth Commanders coverage every single day for free right here on YouTube. All right, so now let's get into it, man. Landover, Maryland, here on Sunday, Week 1. It's going to be a very, very highly anticipated Week 1 matchup here because obviously it's a divisional matchup here. The New York Giants coming in with a new quarterback, Russell Wilson, versus Jaden Daniels and this Commanders team, who obviously went to the NFC Championship game last year, won 2 road playoff games against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions, respectively. And there's a ton of expectations on the Burgundy and Gold heading into this season. Right now, the Commanders are favorited by pretty much a touchdown here going into the game, and the odds makers feel like it's going to be a pretty average scoring game in terms of the points scored. 45.5 is currently the over-under on the game. But before we get into the Giants coaching breakdown and the Russell Wilson scouting report and all the stuff that we're going to be talking about on today's show, the injury that you guys need to keep your eye on this week is Giants left tackle Andrew Thomas, who of course suffered a Liz Frank injury last year. That's in his foot, and he is still dealing with some of these question marks surrounding his foot heading into Week 1 here versus the Washington Commanders. He was a limited participant in practice on Tuesday, so we'll see the progression as he goes throughout the week here, but he's still kind of getting back from that Liz Frank injury that he suffered in Week 5 last year that took him out for the rest of the 2024 season here in the National Football League, and he hasn't really been participating in practices all that much throughout camp. So we'll see if Andrew Thomas is ready to go, but if he can't go, that's going to make things a lot easier on the Washington Commanders pass rush because Thomas is one of the best left tackles in the National Football League. If he can't go, it's going to be James Hudson, who does have some starting experience with the Cleveland Browns, who would be the starting left tackle if Thomas is out. But let's face it, guys, Hudson is a major downgrade to Andrew Thomas and would make things a lot easier for the Commanders on defense if he's not out there, especially with Russell Wilson, a quarterback that likes to hold the football. And like I said, guys, if Thomas can't go, it should be a pretty easy win for the Washington Commanders this week. A big part of the Giants' game plan is going to be to keep Russell Wilson clean and create run lanes for Tyrone Tracy, their running back. And if you don't have Andrew Thomas out there, it's going to be a lot more difficult to be able to do those two things. So it really is important for him to be on the field if the Giants are going to pull off the upset. So you got to keep your eye on this injury as we approach game day on Sunday. Now we can transition here to the coaching breakdown for the New York Giants. The head coach is Brian Daboll, who currently has an 18-32-1 regular season record as the head coach of the New York Football Giants. So obviously not fantastic, but he does have a playoff win under his belt, of course, and a NFL Coach of the Year trophy. So keep that in mind. But the offensive scheme that they run is a modern pro spread offense, kind of inspired by the Erhardt-Perkins kind of spread offense that they ran in New England for all those years. And, of course, Daboll calls the plays himself there in New York. And then on defense, they run kind of a Belichick-inspired 3-4 defense with lots of different blitz packages. They like to run a lot of cover one here. And Shane Bowen is the guy that is manning the helm on defense here in New York. You can take a look at the Giants' offense heading into the year. Russell Wilson is their new starting quarterback. And the guys to protect him, he's got Andrew Thomas at left tackle. You got John Runyon there at left guard, John Michael Schmitz at center, Greg Van Roten at right guard, and then Jermaine Illuminor. Very similar group as it was to start last season. They're hoping for a little bit of a step forward from this group here in 2025. But then at the skill positions, you got Malik Nabers as the number one receiver. He is a dynamic threat with the football, both in his route running and his vertical threat ability, but also with the ball in his hands. Darius Slayton is more of a designated deep threat type of guy. Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo are going to be your number one and number two running backs. They also have Motor Singletary in here and in that running back room as well. And then Theo Johnson is their starting tight end heading into the year. Then you get to the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line. You got Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Darius Alexander. We'll see how much we see from him. He's a rookie out of Toledo. We could see Nunez Roches quite a bit as well. And then you got Abdul Carter and, of course, Kayvon Thibodeau, who is going to be in the mix as well. So you got to keep your eye on Thibodeau because he's going to be playing a lot in this football game. And also Roy Robertson Harris is going to be playing quite a bit as well. I expect a pretty healthy rotation along the defensive line here in week one. And Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be playing a really big part of that. They're going to be moving Abdul Carter around quite a bit, guys. So they're going to put Thibodeau and Burns on either side of the defensive line here. And then they're going to be putting Carter over the ball. They might even play him a little bit at off-ball backer. Carter is kind of like that Micah Parsons kind of versatile type of linebacker. He can move them all around. So Kayvon Thibodeau is certainly going to be playing quite a bit in this football game. And if you get into third and long, just forget about it because this pass rush is going to get after you. But then you get to the off-ball backer position here. Bobby Okereke and then Micah McFadden are going to be the two inside linebackers for this Giants defense this year. They're okay. It's not a special group of linebackers, but they're certainly capable of getting the job done. And then in the secondary, Paulson Deebo is going to be pretty much their number one outside corner. Drew Phillips, the second-year guy out of Kentucky, is going to be their number two guy on the outside in their base formations, but then their slot corner in their nickel sets. You got Javon Holland, an excellent free safety for them, and they got Tyler Nubin, a second-year player out of Minnesota, as a really solid, strong safety. Deontay Banks or Cordell Flott is going to be their number three corner. Actually, I think Flott might have the inside road to play here in week one. Deontay Banks has once again not had a good training camp, and he may have lost that other starting cornerback job to Cordell Flott. So we'll see who the Giants put out there on Sunday. But still to come here on the Commanders Report preview, keys to victory versus the Giants. I got 8 of them this week, guys. All right, then I got Russell Wilson's scouting report, everything you need to know about the Giants starting quarterback and how to stop them. And then we'll get into my week one, not my week two, my week one score prediction here for the Washington Commanders versus the New York Giants. All that is coming up here on the Commanders Report preview. But before we get into the rest of this week's preview for the Washington Commanders, let's have a word from our sponsor today at PrizePicks. And you and I make decisions every single day. We all know this, all right? What to have for breakfast, what to have for lunch, what to wear in the morning. But on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. This week it's week one, and you better believe I'll be getting my PrizePicks lineups in for the season opener on Thursday, all the way through Monday Night Football. PrizePicks is simple to play. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a brand new feature that I love from PrizePicks is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game with an injury in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss against your lineup. So you guys can take a look here at my Thursday night season opener lineup that I'm going to be putting out on PrizePicks here. I'm taking the more on the passing yards for Dak Prescott. That's essentially a free play, guys, because it's only a half passing yard there. I'm going to take the more on George Pickens receiving yards, the less on Jalen Hurts passing yards, and the more on Saquon Barkley rushing yards. You guys can download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup with PrizePicks today. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup when you download the free PrizePicks app today. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. So now getting into my keys to victory here, I think, what we have to start with here, guys, is you got to start fast, all right, versus this New York Giants team. Because if you get behind on against these guys early in the game and you're down multiple scores and you have to pass the football a lot in the second half of games and the defense knows you have to pass the football, this pass rush, which is really great, guys, you got Sexy Dexy there in the middle. You got Abdul Carter that they can move around. You've got Brian Burns, one of the best speed rushers in football. If you're in a situation where you got to pass the football and the Giants know you got to pass the football, this pass rush can just pin their ears back and they're going to get home. All right, so the Commanders need to do a good job managing the early portion of this game so that they can maintain some of that elusiveness, so to speak, some of that shroudedness, that ability to run and pass as opposed to just having to pass the football for the entire second half of the game. And really, guys, the winner of the first quarter or maybe even the first half is probably going to win this football game, because the team I think that has to pass the football the most in the second half of this game is probably going to be the one that ends up losing it. So if you start fast, you can get a 2-score lead sometime in the first half here or in the first quarter would be ideal. I think that this game would be pretty much done for the New York Giants. Then we get to what the Commanders need to do on defense here against Russell Wilson, and pretty much what you need to do is just make him work. Make him hold on to the football, because he will do that. All right, you take a look at Russell Wilson's scouting report. I currently have him ranked as my 23rd ranked quarterback heading into the year. He's still a decent starting quarterback. He's not a top 20 guy anymore, but he can still sling it down the field. He still has one of the best deep balls in the league, supreme accuracy to all 3 levels of the field still. He protects the ball extremely well, but there's certainly cons to his game as well. He still relies a lot on scrambling, even though he's not the athlete that made him a perennial MVP candidate in his prime. So he takes a lot of sacks. He holds on to the football a lot. If that first read isn't there for him, he tends to panic, and there's a lot of negative plays on Russell Wilson's film, even though he doesn't throw a lot of turnovers, all right? So this is certainly a vulnerable quarterback that you can get on the ground, especially if Andrew Thomas is not available in this football game. He will hold the football, so you got to make sure you get home and put him on the ground if he tries to scramble. Then we get to Malik Nabers, and a big part of the defensive game plan for the Commanders should be to take away Nabers, because he's going to be Russ's number one option on most plays, okay? And as we discussed here, if the Commanders can take away Russell Wilson's first read, he really tends to break down, all right? But if Malik Nabers can kind of cook Marshawn Lattimore, who's going to be tasked with going up against Nabers in this football game, then that's when the Giants can creak through here and potentially get the upset and put up lots of points in this football game. So that's the big question, right? How good and how limited can Malik Nabers be when Marshawn Lattimore is on him? Last year, Lattimore kind of got cooked, frankly, in a couple of these games, specifically against A.J. Brown. And, he was dealing with a hamstring injury that is now 100% healthy. So hopefully Lattimore, who's one of the best bump and run corners, or at least has been over the last several seasons in the National Football League, is going to be ready to go, because Nabers, man, he can run routes. He's really good after the catch. He's got fantastic body control and hands to make crazy catches down the sideline and in the red zone. He will be one of the tougher covers for Marshawn Lattimore the entire season. So you got to be able to take him away so that this pass rush can get Russell Wilson on the ground. Then we get to the offensive side of the ball here, where the Commanders need to establish the run game, okay? I think that this is going to be particularly important because, like we said, this pass rush for the New York Giants is really freaking good. So if you're passing the ball too much in this game, that's going to mean more pressure for Jaden Daniels, which is going to lead to more sacks, potentially more turnovers. And that's not the world that you want to live in, all right? The way to beat the Giants is to run the football on them. And last year, this is how the Commanders were able to put them away in their second game of the season, when Chris Rodriguez Jr. Was able to have a hell of a fourth quarter and put that team away. So look out for Austin Eckler. Look out for Bill Krosky-Mayer. Look out for Chris Rodriguez Jr. to be able to go in there, especially later in the game, and put the Giants away. But another aspect on early downs and early in the game that I want the Commanders to focus on here is Deebo Samuel. He's one of the best receivers in the league on jet sweeps, orbit motions, wide receiver screens, which we know offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury loves to run. So Deebo is one of the most dynamic threats after the catch in the National Football League. He can be an early down weapon for this offense. And with that pass rush coming after Jaden Daniels, I think it's important to get the ball out of JD's hands fast and get the ball to Deebo out in space. But then, when the Giants do give you opportunities to throw deep and the protection holds up, you got to set up some shots, specifically on play action to Terry McLaurin. With all due respect to Paulson Deebo, who's a decent number 2 corner, he's not going up against Terry McLaurin one-on-one and winning. All right, so if you can set up some deep shots here, make the Giants pay for playing too aggressively. That is going to be something that helps out the run game. It helps out the wide receiver screen game on early downs as well. You got to make sure the Giants are not playing too aggressively too often, and that they have to respect the Commanders' deep passing game. Then we get to the offensive line, and the matchup that I'm really going to be watching out for here, guys, is the rookie matchup on the right side of the Commanders' offensive line. Abdul Carter, the rookie out of Penn State, is going to be going up against rookie out of Oregon here. That is Josh Connerly Jr. So Abdul Carter is going to be somebody that is probably going to be a really good pass rusher in this league, guys. He's been reportedly just destroying people at Giants training camp, and he's going to be a force, and he's going to be lining up all over the place. But for most of the time, I believe he's going to be lining up over Josh Connerly Jr., the starting right tackle and first-round pick for the Washington Commanders. Now, both of these guys did play each other in the Big Ten championship game last year when Oregon played Penn State, and Connerly, I think, actually won that matchup. But Connerly, at the time, was playing left tackle. Now he's playing a new position at right tackle, so it will be definitely interesting to watch that matchup unfold once we get to Sunday here between these two rookies. So really excited to see those two face off, because obviously 2 first-round picks, 2 very high-end talents. They're going to be going up against each other quite a bit over the next decade or so, or at least we hope. So that is definitely going to be a matchup to keep your eye on. But then another thing the Commanders need to do here is win the turnover battle and not beat themselves in general. Like, don't be the more penalized team. Don't turn the football over multiple times where the Giants don't. This is clearly a pretty big talent differential when you just look at the rosters, okay? And if you allow the Giants to get a strip sack or 2 or get an interception or, completely obliterate the Commanders in the penalty game, like, those are the ways that, an inferior team can creep back into a football game, and I don't want that to happen, all right? So I really do not expect this to be necessarily an easy fight. It's week 1 against a divisional opponent that played the Commanders really tough twice last year. You can make an argument the Giants should have won both the games that the Commanders played against them last year, but they kind of shot themselves in their own foot in both of those matchups. But the Giants, man, like, Russell Wilson is a lot better than Daniel Jones, who was their quarterback last year, or any quarterback that they were trotting out there, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, anybody like that. Russell Wilson is an adult that protects the football. He can be dangerous throwing the ball down the field, and Malik Nabers can be quite dangerous as well. So, and that's not even mentioning what this pass rush can do. So I'm hoping the Commanders can get off to a fast start. For me, I think that this game will be closer than people expect, but I am going to go with the Washington Commanders to win this football game by a final score of 23-21. We'll see how good Terry McLaurin is after missing most of training camp here. He has had 2 weeks of practice, so hopefully he's going to be able to hit the ground running. We'll see how the run game looks without B-Rob leading the way. But I do think that the Commanders, one way or another, will be leaving Northwest Stadium with a victory here in week 1. It just might be a little bit more difficult than some Commanders fans are hoping for heading into Sunday. So it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section. Predict the final score of Giants versus Commanders. I'm going 23-21 Commanders win. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And that'll be it for this week's preview here on the Commanders Report. We're going to be going live for this game coming up later in the week here on Sunday. Our first watch party of the year. It's going to be absolutely electric, guys. Our coverage is going to be starting at 12 p.m. Eastern time, so an hour before the game kicks off. We also are going to have post-game reactions to that game. We're going to be having previews, watch parties, and post-game reactions to every single Commanders game this year. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate your guys' support. Until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders.